Hello, folks. My name is Derek. You can also call me Uncle Duck if you prefer. Coming here to you today, a few months since my last video, but I'm just not going to get into it. Life happens. When you're just starting, it's real easy to get out of the habit, but with winter coming up, I want to get back into it. I think it'll help with cabin fever. The end of the year here, 2025, but I'm going to come at you today with a double header. We're going to do a real quick one. I'll show you here. We've got this piece here that's a Thor's hammer. And what I did was, this first time I've done this, I used a laser engraver to cut out the pattern. Let me see if that helps. Oh, there you go. That kind of shows a little better. But I had some resin left over from another project I was doing, so I poured it in here. And it's just been sitting around. I wanted to face it real quick and just clean it up. So we're going to go ahead and do that just real quick. But the continuation of my series that I had in mind was to do several parts from, or make parts from video games that were sort of influential to my past or even in recent times. And so you see here, my last video I did was the keys from the game Heretic. And the first video was my play button here, which that's obviously not a video game creation, but it was the intro. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take these two pieces, which we have here, some oak, and I'll be quite honest with you, I do not remember what this is. But it's a really beautiful contrast, I think. So I'm going to cut this to size, and we'll take this piece and glue it on top. And once they're good and dry, I'm going to cut out the logo from Skyrim out of this piece, and this oak piece will just sort of be the back to give it some contrast. I've done a project kind of similar to this before, but just once. So I've been kind of itching to do that. So that's my project for today. And if you're not familiar with Skyrim, I'll show you the logo here so you can get an idea of that. Or maybe I'll even just show you the model that I have in Fusion. So let's go ahead. We'll get this cut up. We'll get this cut up, and we'll probably have to face this a little thinner. It's a little thicker than what I want. I only need about a 16th thickness. So once I get these cut and glued together, first operation will be to just mill the face, and then we'll come in and we'll cut our profile, because I'm using a 1/16 ball nose end mill, and at present I only have one. I have been out of my shop for far too long, so I was kind of unfamiliar with what I even had. And I just happen to have the day to myself for the most part, so that's why we're doing this video. We'll see what we can get done today. We'll work into tonight probably, but the key point here is just to try to get back into the swing of things. So let's move on. Step one. All right, here we are at the router. It's been a minute since it's been used and wasn't left in the best state, so we might have to have a word with management on that. But let's go ahead. We'll get it cleaned up. We are back at the router. It's as clean as I'm going to be able to get it at the moment. Normally I would use my wet dry vac, but it's just not in a state to be used at the moment. I think I used it to get something wet last time and neglected to empty it, and there's just kind of a mold situation in there. So for now, this will work. It's not ideal, but here's our piece. Here's our 4-inch vise we're going to use. And I've got this piece of maple just to back it up, or shim it up, I guess you could say, so it sits proud of the vise itself. We've got an 1/8 inch ball nose in here. We'll switch it out for this 1/4 inch. It's still going to take a minute because I can have only a certain step over before it looks kind of ugly, but I could ideally would use a flat end mill, but if we look at this piece here, you can see these lines. Let me try to get, I think you can see it pretty well. And I think the reason that happens with a flat end mill is because the gantry part here, it's just not perfectly straight and vertical. There's a little bit of play. So if you try to use a flat, it just doesn't come out well. So we're just going to use a 1/4 inch ball nose. That'll still get us by pretty quick. We've got our clamps, our vise, our part. We just need to get everything set up and run her through. All right, there we have it. Didn't quite come out as perfect as I was hoping. You can see here we've got a little spot here, doesn't quite match the other side, but not the end of the world. For just a project we were doing for kicks, I think it turned out pretty well. I got more tear out than you can see. I went ahead and did a real rough sanding already. But I think I'll go ahead and do a little smoother sanding and probably just give it a urethane, maybe break the edges a little bit. But all in all, I think that's pretty cool for using the laser engraver to cut that out and then just fill it with resin. Looks like if you do it just right, you can get a lot of detail. So you'll see, actually, I just noticed that right there is a little spot. It doesn't work perfectly. I tried another piece of wood and I don't know, I'm assuming it has to do with any resin that's still in the wood, but not all of it cuts out as well as other spots. I've had some that didn't cut nearly as deep as others. Um, I don't know. I'm just guessing that's because there's resin in there or something that's just a denser part of the wood. But all in all, for just a fun little piece, I think that's really cool. And when we get it sanded up and a urethane on it, I think that'll look really sharp. Okay, here we are. We've got our two pieces cut out here. I don't think I'm going to do anything to prep the surfaces. They seem pretty flat as it is. I don't feel any rock or any movement there, so we'll go ahead. We'll just use some typical type bond wood glue, glue them together and clamp them on up. All right, welcome back. We're here at the router. We've got our pieces glued together. We've got them mounted to this baseboard that I'm going to use. We've got it just screwed in through the back. Our operations, we're going to cut out our oval shape, and then we'll face it, and we'll do that with a 1/4 inch flat end mill. That'll be just fine for this. And then we'll switch over to our 16th ball nose, and that'll just do a parallel back and forth and cut out our pattern. And hopefully when this thing is all said and done, it'll just be a really cool looking piece, I think. I've done something similar to this before, but not with such finer details as does the dragon has. And I'm hoping there's not too much glue here between the two pieces that anything happens there. I hope I didn't put it on too thick, but I don't know how absorbent this wood is as far as glue goes, but I mean, nothing's coming apart here, so I think we're solid. So we'll get it mounted up. We're just gonna, probably should bring it in here, but we'll be using our spacers and our hold downs, I call them. So I'll go ahead and get that set up, get the tools changed out and touched off, and we'll just touch base then, see where we're at. All right, here we go. I usually slow this down just a hair before I start going, just to make sure there's no craziness that happens. So with that being said, here we go. Now you have to excuse me here for any background noise. It is, in fact, laundry day, and we're in the basement, but I have to apologize for the cut there in the footage. Unfortunately, instead of my phone telling me it was out of storage, it just decided to crash. So, that being said, we've got our 1/8 inch ball, or 16th inch ball nose end mill in here. I cleared up a bunch of space on my phone, so hopefully this doesn't cut out. And I'll try to do my best to keep this clean, keep the chips away so we can see it. And also, if it doesn't cut deep enough on the first pass to where you can see the oak through this, I might have to restart it. So hopefully I've got my numbers set. With that being said, let's give her a go and cross our fingers. That's the only 16th ball nose I have, so fingers crossed. All right, so we had to stop it. As you can see, we've got this area right here that it's just almost oak, but we should be seeing mostly oak through there. So we do need to drop our tool down just a touch. Maybe we'll try like 5 thousandths and see what we get. But I also had an error in my tool path. If you saw, it plunged into the material. It should have been starting out here off this edge and working its way up. And it was just a few settings in Fusion 360 that I kind of an oversight. It's been a couple of months, if I'm being honest, since I've even opened up Fusion or fired up my router here. So let's get back to it. We've fixed everything, and I think we should be good to go. Okay, well, I guess when it rains, it pours. This time, Mach 3, which is the program that drives this machine, decided to have an error of its own. I'm not sure if the batteries in the remote might be getting old. I haven't obviously used those in a minute either, but as you can see, we have some spots here that should be just oak. So we still need to actually go a little deeper with our tool. I'm hoping I won't have to go too much more. And the other trouble is, I can't guarantee just how flat this is sitting in here. So, we could be higher here and lower back here. So who knows? We may need to rerun this a couple more times. I'm hoping not, but I think in the end we should still get the result we're looking for. So we'll make another offset, and I've also setting up a fan here. I'm hoping this works. That way I don't have to stand here and consistently brush this thing off. So let's get going. All right, man. We are we are just racking up the L's here today. So I'm thinking that when this machine froze on, or well, I guess Mach 3 had its little issue. I think I may have moved the controller or told the controller to move the machine and it didn't, but I think the program still registered that it moved even though it physically didn't. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of a spot here where it dug in. That is because my X value is not center where it should be. Right now that the point of the tail on the dragon is right on X0. And right now my machine reads minus 117. So that would mean X is currently being registered probably somewhere about here, which is why it dug in here, because it's doing this feature, but moved over. So if this works, maybe what I'll do is I'll change the chamfer a little bit. This chamfer around the edge here, and hopefully we can salvage this. Either way, I think this is going to turn out really sweet, but I don't have a whole lot of this material here, so we'll see what happens. Here we are back in the office. I've turned my overhead lights off. It seemed a little overexposed as I was editing the video while this was running, so I hope that works out. We've got our part here, and of course, man, I think it turned out so beautiful. You saw in the video there, it didn't quite clean up all the way at the top here, so I obviously reran it, but I just did that on my own time. I just decided to let this run so I could just get the footage, but you get the idea of what happened. But man, I need to find out what kind of wood that is, because that is just gorgeous. I got it in a pile of scrap with some other varieties of exotics, and they were just handed to me, so I don't know what type they were. There was a variety, but we had a few hiccups. You can see we have our gouge there. Why can I not get that to focus? There we go. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to fill that with some wood putty and sand it, and then I'll paint this outer corner break here. I'll paint that black, so I think that'll give it some contrast. And then you can see here when we lost our X position, it did result in just a little bit of a lip there, but the part itself, one more thing was having to offset it. Let me see if I can't get that. You can see a little bit of a lip right at the end of the tail, like the sort of V. It ended up cutting a little deeper into that part of this than what I intended. So essentially what happened was, this being the backside of the machine, we were kind of sitting, just to exaggerate, we were basically sitting like this. So it cut deeper on this side than it did this side, but that doesn't ruin this at all to me. So I'm going to take this and my Thor's hammer piece that's in my shop, so I'll go get that. We'll get them sanded up, finishing touches on them, and uh, I'll go outside and urethane them, and I'll bring you with for that, because that's when the colors are just really gonna really pop, I think. So an overall success. I kind of thought maybe I wish I could have painted this like a stone color. I think that would have looked really cool. But I think either way, for just deciding on a whim to go ahead and do this, I think it turned out absolutely as well as I could have hoped for. All right, so there we have it once more. This was just a real treat to make for something I just did on a whim. Just decided one afternoon to do it and make a video out of it. I have to say, it really turned out super, super well. And I did not model this. I'll make a note somewhere here in the video of where I got that from, but I did not model the dragon. So again, a real treat to make. If you made it this far, I want to thank you. I really appreciate that. And if you enjoyed this, I would especially appreciate if you showed some love in the like, subscribe buttons, and maybe left a comment. And with that, I hope I will see you in the next video.